Lovely day here in Littleton, as usual. We're going to have an information session and workshop item. If Matt would like to come up and anybody else that wants to come on associated with that, come on up. Allendale Hall, options, question mark, question mark. Oh, John. Hi, John. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. So you all have seen an information paper that we've prepared. Allendale Hall, you will know, I've been here before and discussed Allendale Hall, currently closed. We've got a few options for it. We've been part of the critical allocations working plan, so our decision making has been on hold for a bit. It's not been ejected from that process, but it's now out of that process, which is great. So we can press the pause and get things going on that again. So Councillor Fields has put in through the LTP, there was an amendment or a resolution for the LTP that we report back to council through the annual plan process, having worked with the Governors Bay Residents Association to discuss options. Effectively, we've got three options. We've got two options really. We've got two different solutions to look at how we could reopen the hall. There's always a do nothing option, but that's the one that nobody is desperate for. So the two options are, well, the two solutions are, so effectively we've got groundwater coming up, and we've got a substructure which is wet, and that's partly because of the way that the hall was rebuilt, so it's concrete around it. What we think that we can do, having investigated it, is put in a ventilation system for it. It'll be a mechanical ventilation system, so it'll be powered. It will push air around, replace the flooring on the hall, and then do some other works to the hall. Replace some of the timbers, replace some of the structure. We think we can do that for about $80,000. City Care, who have looked at it, they've said we can't guarantee how long this is going to last for. 7 years you might get 10 years, you might get less, you might get 3 years. They've said in the worst case scenario. We don't think that is what's going to happen. We think that's the best option. The other option that we've got is to rip up floor and dig in, and then lay a big concrete foundation effectively, and then repair a lot of the hall. And that's a more expensive option. That's around $450,000. And that isn't budgeted for at the moment for the hall. So that's the option that we would report back to council through the annual plan and say, can you find us this additional capital? Within that option, there's a slight tweak. We have some money that we budgeted for some other facilities, and we could do a swap. But that would put other facilities at the back of the list. We don't think that would be a viable option. So really, our preferred option is that let's put in some mechanical ventilation. Let's do this. We budgeted for it. We can get going with it. It may last for 10 years. We'll be watching it the whole time. What's happened so far has crept up on us. We weren't aware of the engineering problem when the rebuild took place. We'd be aware of this. We'd be monitoring.
I think another feature of the solution is we will sort out the water issues, so there will be safe water on site, which is there isn't at the moment. I guess we feel that we've heard from the community, and we'd like to get the place open. We'd like to get people through there. The people engaged and enjoying it, and the facility itself, given where it is, it does have it won't be there forever because the sea will be. So while it's there, get it open and get people through and enjoying it again. We'd like to come get on with it as soon as possible. So we're looking for a steer.
Well, we've got lots of questions before we do any driving. Fantastic. Good. So option one, because we'll be talking about options. So option 1, option 2, and option 3. But you said there's only two ones that really on that. Which ones?
It's two. Well, it's two. There's two solutions. So one solution is effectively a concrete pad, and one solution is what we've got at the moment. But ventilate it, replace the wood.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It was just around which of the three options. Okay, no, that's fine. You, sure, now open it to elected members for questions.
Yeah, I really like option one actually. Because the community has been asking for quite a, for a while now, 2 years. So if we don't do it, means that 2026, another 2 years wait. And then, and during that time, if that hall is not used, then it will deteriorate in itself. So it will cost council more to do that. So I think option one, personally, I think it's well thought through, and it's what community wants, and it's the most viable option. But I think. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Absolutely. So we've got to where we are because of the way that the repair happened. So do you want to just talk me through? I mean, I don't know who did the repair and how did it and what went wrong, if anything, and what reports do we have in that regard in terms of
Don't think we've got any recourse. I think they built it to how they planned to build it.
Yeah.
I think the thing which hasn't, from my understanding of it, I'm not a master builder, but from my understanding of it is increased groundwater. And so effectively they've got concrete slabs around the whole hall, so they've blocked off any ventilation whatsoever. So when they've done that, so there's no ventilation back out. And so you've got a hall, you've got a floor sat on top of piles, sat on top of what is a damp area, and you've got no air coming into it, and so you're getting rot come through. So the solution that we're looking for is to fix that and to get air coming through to mitigate that.
So the original design for the repair didn't take that into account.
It appears so.
Yeah, I mean, we're really here to focus on getting the plate open, what we do in the future. Yep. But I do understand your question. I've always seen it as quite a complex site. It's an old building that has been modified and adapted and rebuilt and added on to numerous times over its life. It's in a very, very low-lying area. It's susceptible to groundwater. It sits below a major road. It's in a very, very difficult place. I can't comment entirely on the scope of the earthquake repairs, but I would strongly suspect that there is an assessment done and the repairs were done and it was opened. And we are where we are. I agree with Matt. I don't think we would have any recourse apart from time and effort and money on the repairs and the contractors. It's kind of, yeah. I'd love to be able to give you more. No, that's fine. That's fine. I can't really tomorrow.
Yeah,
I don't want to keep relitigating it. Yeah. But I just want just for the benefit of our viewing public. Yeah. More questions?
You can fire ahead until I see someone for the hand.
So if we were to give you a steer on option one, let's say, as a thought experiment, and we opened it up and it was a lot worse than we anticipated, let's say 80 grand just wasn't going to cut it, what happens then?
We would, if it were far worse than we thought, we'd stop. There'd be a conversation. We'd reevaluate what the solution was going to be. We wouldn't keep on charging ahead. We're pretty confident that will cover it. City Care, we've had different contractors out. We've had City Care out. We've had engineers go out and have a look at it. We've had them come back and revisit that a couple of times. So I'm fairly confident with the team that have looked at it and what they think the solution is. But if it were far worse, that wouldn't necessarily slow things down. But we'd certainly, we wouldn't just keep pouring money into it.
No, because the thing is, I guess, like regardless of the steer, without wishing to presuppose what my colleagues might think about it, but if we were, the steer might be that we just want to get it open. And so regardless of option 1 or 2 or 3 or 7, and so, so we don't want to be able to give you a steer on a certain option for you to come back and go, oh no, well, we can't do this because it's going to cost $207,000 instead of 80.
So within the community facilities portfolio, there is a capital budget, and the capital budget plans out what projects we're going to do, when we're going to do them. We've got some contingency there, so I'm confident.
Contingency that's above and beyond the things mentioned in option 2?
Above and beyond the 80.
Right.
If it were getting up to, if we were looking at something that was similar to option 2, then we would stop and we would rethink the project when we have the best solution. I'm pretty confident it won't.
I've got more questions.
Howard's got a question?
Yeah, I can come back.
Yeah, we'll come back. It's exact.
Yeah, I missed your presentation, so you might have covered this, so please forgive me. What I gather with option 1, it's got a 3 to 10 year lifespan. How close to 3 and how close to 10? There's a big difference there. So that's basically.
So the team that provided the option said 7, but they said it might be more, it might be less. And when we pushed them on, it might be more. So you might get 10. And they said, but it might be less. 3 was closer. I think the key thing that I would say with this option, with the option 1, is up until this point, I think we were unaware of the problem. We're now very aware of the problem, and we'll be watching it. And so it's not, so things got worse. You had, not only did you get the rot, but also you got mold in other parts of it. We'll be watching that. So I'd say it wouldn't get to the state that it's got to. I think it got to where it got to, and that caught everything out. We wouldn't let that happen.
So you're still going to have water ingress problems coming from what I gather, drainage problems underneath. Basically, what I gather, a lot of this has been caused by drainage off the roof, getting underneath the building and sitting there, resulting in dampness. That's the understanding I had. Am I wrong?
A lot of it's been caused by a section of the underfloor not being sufficiently ventilated, combined with being in a very, very wet spot. So, it's it's about as damp as you can get. And like with any sort of wooden floors, if there's a build-up of moisture underneath, they're going to deteriorate really quickly. So it's the deterioration has accelerated, but as Matthew said, it's also fostered other problems like black mold and insanitary conditions. And part of the thing we're also trying to fix is the quality of the water supply, which is not good. So whatever option we do, we'd have to improve that.
So option 2 basically would solve all those problems, and the money's already there.
No.
Well, you're reprioritising already existing capital.
Yeah.
So the money's already there. You're nicking it from somewhere else.
There's sufficient money. The option 1. As Matt said, there's 2 options, and the second option there's a couple of variants. So we reprioritise, or if we want to do everything, we allow council to consider it in the annual plan.
Rather certainly not do that, but if we could reprioritise and do option 2, that'd be the better option, obviously.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing though is that option 1 would still be open quicker.
Yeah.
Option 2,
Yeah.
that's not. Would that put option 2 out of anything later on, like a potential long-term aim for permanent?
No, I don't think that it would. I think that part of the pause whilst Allendale 4 was part of the coastal adaptation plan was to see what the plan was going to come back and say. If the plan had said remove the hall in the next 5 to 10 years, then spending a vast sum of capital it wouldn't be sensible, not good use of ratepayers' money. The plan has come back and said, realistically, you're going to have a structure there for 30 years.
Mm.
So that's the thing that has changed in terms of the thinking. Until we'd reached that point, it was kind of a solution.
Yeah.
But as I say, option one may give you 10 years.
Yeah, but option two gives you the full length of the building, plus it's only going to take 8 months. You say it can be open within 8 months.
Where's that?
So no, it has to be in the fiscal year 2026, so that means 2 year more wait.
No, it says here it can be open within 8 months.
Within 8 months, you have to have funding,
So open for,
fiscal year 26.
yeah, they've already got the funding and it can be open within 8 months. So it can be open for summer of 26.
That funding has already been promised to other projects, which were critical considered by those communities, especially Port Levy facility.
The issue with the reprioritisation of funding is we then need to have conversations with an analysis with who we were planning to reprioritise from. So it makes it a little bit more difficult than option one. The option three, if you like, avoids that by asking council to put additional money in. But again, that will take a bit longer.
Which will probably never happen anyway.
Can't comment on that.
Well, most likely it's
Yeah.
it's going to be a long
Yeah.
winter
But yeah.
fight.
I mean, how do you saying that like they are distinctly different options? And one is, look, get it open, get it now. Get it open now, fix what we know, see how it goes. The skeptics and risk averse say 3 years. We think probably a bit longer. But it gets people going through there, and we can get on with it promptly, do it with an existing budget, and we're saying, yeah, that's probably a good one. But if you're saying it's a long-term fix, and no, it's not.
So in 5 years' time, you're going to be back exactly the same thing. It's going to be closed again. It's basically a very popular facility, well used by basically Christchurch and local residents. Simply because of the location, it's easy access to Christchurch. It was a great place for weddings, events. Basically any facility, because there was no restrictions, people could not upset any of the locals, and noise wasn't an issue, big issue. I see the problem is you're spending 80 grand, probably close to 100, for a 5-year fix. And then you're going to come back in another 5 years and say, oh, look, we've got to spend another 100 grand on the, redoing the same thing again. So you just basically, if you did the job properly once, it solves the problem for 30 years.
Mm.
I'm not trying to convince you. I'm trying to convince you.
No.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you're not.
You agree either way.
We've asked you for a steer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea, earlier, Matt, you didn't know the issue. Now you know the issue. So that's the major difference. Earlier, they didn't know that what was causing it. Now they are addressing the issue. So I think that 80,000 would be well spent money, and it will be win-win from the community perspective, because they have been asking and gave a petition number of times to this board.
But then you got to come back with, okay, what mitigating efforts can be done to reduce the moisture under the building to extend these repairs, drainage, something like that. Otherwise, you got a 5-year fix. It's not going to last. I'd say 5 years, maybe 6, you'll start getting the same problem again.
I don't think anybody's denying that. And before we move on to Tyrone's question, I'd say potentially as a board, that's something we could acknowledge if we wanted to in our annual plans, in our long-term plans, and have that as something that is a plan that we have when this fix is at its end of life. Then we are before that happens, we are making sure that we've got the money there, we've got the project ready to go. That's a possibility, as a suggestion anyway. Tyrone, you've got a question?
I do. So we allocated $20,000 to this project out of our Better Off funding allocation, which, we got less money than all the other community boards. And so would that, in the option one, are we still injecting, allocating that 20 grand from Better Off? Is that part of the calculation there?
At the moment, you are.
It'll be great if I get it back.
Based on the board's decision, there's a $20,000, the first $20,000 of any of the options is covered.
Okay, cool. And so in option 2, the projects, Littleton, Pigeon Bay and Port Levy. So Littleton, I understand that's, am I allowed to say? So, you know, just some augmentation to the rec centre there. Pigeon Bay Hall, I mean, that's, there's no way that's going to fly. Bumping that down the road. And Port Levy, so is it the Port Levy facilities, are they the same things that we allocated money to via our bid off as well? Same project? Or it's like
Earthquake stuff, isn't it?
You allocated money to the toilet kitchen block,
Yeah.
but the hall is the earthquake prone building. So Pigeon Bay and Port Levy are both earthquake prone. So they have till 2031. We have till then to get the building strengthened to meet code, because they are below the whatever the percentages that they're allowed to be.
And that facility was going to be used for emergency response hub, or just for the community facility?
Well, and each of the communities has said that they want their halls as a hub.
Yeah, so they are critical.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to take money off budget for other places.
So option 1, how long is it going to take?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Doesn't actually say when they're
To do it,
Yeah. 8 months.
no, we don't know how long it would take. It's the under the flavour of the meeting is option 1 is the best bet. Then we'd initiate it almost immediately. And so then it just depends when you can get a contractor in and when we can get some, you know, the hall hasn't been opened, so the hall hasn't got bookings, so we don't need to move people out. So we're literally waiting on if there's contractors available.
So 6 months.
Yeah, I don't know how long it takes, but
Yeah, well, with Christmas and, Christmas, New Year, but time contractors get back and over there, so it's only 2 more months to go, fix it properly.
Are we questioning about how long the 8 months? That seems a very short time to completely fix a hall. Is that what we are?
Well, that's what they've written here, that's what I'm working on.
the 8 months we wouldn't have budget until then.
You wouldn't have the budget until 8 months, so.
So if you go the biggest, if you go option 2, you go with the biggest solution.
Yeah.
Next financial year.
It's going to be open by 2026.
It does say that.
So we would.
This can proceed immediately and will allow the hall to open within 8 months in time.
2026 summer.
So we'd be aiming for summer next year.
And we've also got to remember that this hall does generate
January
26,000 a year. So that used to go towards, the maintenance and repair of the hall. Now it's not. So, 10 years we pay it off anyway, 20 years.
Well, look, that goes to the community
Yeah, I know,
association that manages it. It doesn't go to the council to help do the repairs.
But we can use it for this.
Well, we don't get to decide because it's the community associations revenue that they earn from the hall.
We've got Kathy and then Tyrone.
I just feel that option 1 is the way to go, but can we vote on it? I mean,
That's a man for the chair.
We're giving a steer, so we're kind of talking about it and giving them an idea of what we've heard from the community, I guess. And
Exactly.
really about what we've heard the community say that they would like. And then also within these, the governance part of it as well. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Oh, good to see you.
Kathy, why don't you tell the board about your reasons for why you choose option 1 and then they can hear.
Oh, right, yeah, because I think the community wants to get in there, it generates, it's bigger than the community, Christchurch, and it's also part of the emergency hub, and I'm working with communities doing emergency hub stuff, and it's so important to have a place to plan and be there, and so it reassures the community. I mean, we had recent fires are happening now. All that sort of stuff, we can't be waiting and waiting. It's just, right, it just feels urgent.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about option one? Gillian,
Oh,
or any
no,
thoughts? There you go.
well, it is about. So is it correct that that there was an assessment done 2.5 years ago in terms of the fixing of the hall? What was required then? Is it that long ago?
I think that was, I think 2.5 years ago, I'm trying to remember my reports about the piece of paper. I think 2.5 years ago, they looked at what some possible solutions were for it. So they were trying to diagnose what the problem was, and then looked at some of the solutions.
Yeah.
I think I'm only thinking since I've been in the role as community facilities portfolio manager. So that was prior to me. Since I've been there, I've asked for somebody else to come in and have a look at some solutions. And then we, prior to this, so maybe 6-7 months ago, maybe less than that actually, we asked them to go back and check whether those solutions were still viable.
Okay, that's quite recent.
And
They were.
viable. Okay. Yeah, because that's where you said, City Council have looked at it.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm wondering what looked at it means, how in depth that was.
Yeah.
Was it as in depth as the original assessment or?
Yeah, so the initial or the assessment 2 years ago when the engineering report came through, we had a couple of different engineers go through and have a look at solutions. So they said, how do you make this work? And scratched their heads and we came up with, which is where we've ended up with the one that got to the option one. City Care, we use as contractors regularly for some of our other community facilities. So we've said, is this viable in their minds? Do they think that that's a good solution? Can they think of anything else? So we've had an independent engineer go in and look at something, and then we've had the contractor that we use on a regular basis go and look at something.
And with option one, that would see builders over there within February sort of scenario.
Couldn't guarantee when, but we
March.
would initiate it pretty quickly.
The goal from option one is to get people in.
Yeah.
Safe drinking water and the place used. We've heard it's been very, very popular. We haven't got any usage records, so we couldn't actually say that. But everyone's telling us that, so we say we'll get it open and get people through.
No, I think that will help us too. If we get it open, potentially an idea is to get it open and then have that proven usage. That will help leverage any future plans as well. And I know the community is just busting to get in
Can I just follow up on where I was getting to?
there. So sorry, Gillian.
Well, my next question was going to be, so these assessments people have done, are they in writing or?
Yes.
Yes.
Engineering reports.
So, should we, or could we have seen those or is that something too much to ask or?
That's a good question. Yeah. Can I ask to see them?
Absolutely. It's not secret information.
Right.
We have masses of reports on all of our buildings, and it's ratepayer funded and it's public property.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And sorry if I missed this, but what's the feedback from the Community Association and the Reserve Committee on the options?
I would say that feedback that I've received.
Option two all the way, right?
Well, you get it open.
Yeah.
So
That's what I've picked up. Yeah.
The key thing is get it open.
Yeah.
And frustration that it's closed and it's taken as long as it has.
And we could get it open and there's actually nothing to stop the council representative for Banks Peninsula, whoever that might be, at whatever time that might be, from revisiting this in a future LTP, right? And, depending on the success of this, or otherwise of what's happened, and say, well, actually, we've had the feedback from the coastal hazards adaptation stuff now, and we know a bit more. And so there'd be more qualitative and quantitative data to go on to maybe make better decisions or, different decisions or augmenting decisions down the track, right? So all of that stuff is still open.
That's right. The way that the facilities portfolio works, we don't name the buildings that we're going to that are getting refurbished, we have a large portfolio. We try to keep them all in good condition.
Yeah.
And then we try and manage the budget as best we can. This would just fall back into that. I think that the mitigating factor with this one is that there's a lot of mold. There was a lot of the floorboards were rotted, and then we had the coastal adaptation conversation, which has paused it for a long period of time. So that's just added to the frustration of there is no decision being made.
Yeah. Great question. So before we move on to the great question around reserve committee thoughts and things. And I see Andrea sitting over there. I'm just wondering if you'd like to speak into that a little bit more.
Well, I was just going to respond to Gillian's point about the reports. All of the technical reports that have been undertaken by the specialist builders legend in there have been shared with the committee and managed the hall. So they've been able to look at all of that and have a meeting with Matthew and sort of go through all of that information. So I think the committee feel comfortable that they've received all of that information and really understand what's required to get them.
I'm just thinking for us, we're required to today give some kind of indication
Yes, dear.
of where we're up to. We haven't.
Well, I think it's a good indication that the reserve committee is happy with what has been sent through on that one. But yes, we can have that in retrospect, but for today, right now, that's not. At least you've got it like right.
Yeah.
No.
The key reason that I would like to steer is because we have an LTP resolution which says report back.
Yes.
If you give us a nod that actually it's comfortable to go with option one.
Yeah.
Effectively, we won't be in the LTP resolution, but we'll say it's been actioned and completed.
Yeah.
If we don't, we'll continue that through. And so it becomes a timing thing. That's the key reason. I don't want to close it off.
Yeah.
Properly.
Yes, a really good point. You do mention here the council can consider more permanent repairs in the 2027-37 LTP. So that option is still there. It's not that, that's option 180,000 and then forget about it.
Yeah, I think that's why I was referring to that. So
yes. So it is basically option 1 is securing option 2 and 3 while opening it up for the community quickly.
Well, most people seem to be on option 1. I must admit, I'd like option 2, except until it was pointed out to me, it's not actually 8 months, it's 18 months.
Oh.
There's a misprint there in the report.
Okay.
So it has to be option 1.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential foot trips in
It's
option
2027
as well.
it's 18 months.
And I don't think there's going to be
my dyslexia.
I didn't pick it up until it was pointed out to me either.
it's difficult for us
26,
to rob Peter to pay for. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that Pigeon Bay Hall in particular really needs to be dealt with, and I can't see
and those communities
my
have been,
colleague here countenancing that being kicked down the road. Or
The sooner it gets
any of
done,
us.
the better.
I'm seeing a lot of nods around for option 1. So that's there for you.
thank
But
you.
with the guarantee though, that like it's not you're not going to say, oh,
Little
it's,
caveat.
you know, we've opened it up and it's just like the depths of hell in there and we can't proceed because
There's never guarantee.
well, and as much as that you can reasonably
We'll keep you informed.
practically.
That we're still problem solving, I guess, if that is the case, that it's still right, but that we're problem solving and working towards it together with the community, just keep doing that.
Absolutely.
I think what we're saying is if it's a catastrophic disaster, Matthew will be back here to talk with you.
And we will love to see him. No, we don't want to see you back at that.
Yeah,
But other things like progress, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In all seriousness, then if we open things up and, oh my crikey, you guys will be the first to know about it.
Great.
Well, probably
Well,
second to know about it.
yeah.
Take it to them,
Yeah.
which is the correct way to do it, yeah, totally. Oh, thank you so much for the work that's been done so far.
Thank you, Matthew.
Love it.
Thanks, team. Really
And
appreciate
thank you for your
it.
time and coming in here.
Awesome.
And thanks for staying on. We really appreciate that. We asked for this and
They missed a Christmas lunch, especially for us.
Yes, look, we've got this in a way.
Yeah.
This is our present. Presents for their presents. Okay, thank you, team. So we're still in line, so we should finish with a karakia unless there's something else I've forgotten to add in there. No, that's it? Okay, let's finish with the karakia.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
And a here, and a here, and a here,
Kia wātia, kia māma, tēnā kau, tēnā te wairua ki te ara takata. Koe rā e ro, ki koe te tia ake, ki roha, ki tina, tina, hui e.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.